Hey guys, how's it going? I am here with the two wonderful minds behind the latest holiday horror. It's a Wonderful Knife. We have director Tyler McKinstry and writer Michael Kennedy. How are you doing, gentlemen?
Good. My dog likes to say hi too.
Doing
Awesome.
well, thanks.
Awesome, awesome. Yep. So we are about a week away at the time of recording this from your film hitting theaters, and I'm sure that's got to be surreal. I've seen it. Our review just went up today. Both my co-host and I adore it. We're big fans of holiday horror, big slasher fans as well, and I think that's one of the best things about your film here that I highlighted in the review was just when it comes to doing slashers, we get a lot of them, but I think the twist that you two were able to throw on this with kind of taking that age old story of It's a Wonderful Life and kind of playing with it a little bit really adds a whole new element to that. Could you guys kind of dive into, I guess this would be more, I guess maybe starting with Michael, but then when you were presented with the project, Tyler, where did that all start for you guys?
For me, it was just I knew I wanted to write some sort of Christmas slasher, and then it kind of during COVID lockdown, I started kind of reminiscing about Freaky and how much fun I had on that movie, and how that movie was kind of one of the last big things I did before lockdown. We shot it in the fall of 2019. And I just had a great time on that from beginning to end, working on the script with Chris and being on set and all that kind of stuff, that I started just kind of missing it, and was like, wonder if I could do a Christmas version of something like that. And then It's a Wonderful Life sprang to mind, and then just kind of studied that movie for a little bit. I'm a huge fan of that movie. My family is a huge fan. It was my dad's favorite movie. So I knew it really well, but when I revisited it with the idea of like making Jimmy Stewart a 17-year-old girl that has to run from a serial killer, I really sparked to the challenge and the idea of making that work. And I think, yeah, I really found then it was just about finding the story and how to change it a little bit and move things up and that kind of stuff.
Fantastic. And Tyler, when you got on board the project here, what was that like? Was this something that you did you guys have any kind of like working relationship beforehand? I know you haven't worked on any projects from your IMDb pages I've seen, but how did you come across it?
Yeah, I mean, Michael and I met shortly after Freaky came out, because like I'd made a movie called Tragedy Girls that had sort of some similar kind of elements to it, and so people were kind of suggesting like, "Hey, you guys should meet," and we, had met up and kind of dug each other, and we're sort of keeping our eyes peeled for something that might fit, and I knew like the producers from various meetings beforehand, and it just kind of worked out, and what I really kind of connected to was the fact that it's has a very sincere kind of heart to it, and I like the challenge of maybe trying to make like an uplifting slasher film, but like beyond that, I mean, I really just love Christmas horror, and I like growing up I definitely gravitated more towards the like the Richard Donner Scrooge, and like A Nightmare Before Christmas, and these sorts of like Christmas things that had a little bit of like macabre at their center, and I definitely saw the potential of this, and I thought it had a really great hook, and so fortunately they kind of responded to the sort of energy I was bringing to it and kind of trusted me to tell the story.
Awesome. And so like how much were you both involved on this project? Like Michael, was this something where you were also like on set with Tyler? Like, so you guys were kind of in this. So that's great, because my next question goes into just the casting of this, because we had a lot to say about the cast. I thought that everybody really did a fantastic job. I mean, I think I messed up her name last time, but Jane Woodrop, I think I got that right now.
Yeah, Jane Widdop. Yeah,
Widdop. Yeah. She was just excellent in this. And seriously, I hadn't seen Yellow Jackets yet, but my wife was a big fan of the show. So when I told her that she was in this, she was just like, "Oh wow, she's great," and all that. So I was really impressed by that. But I mean, you guys also have some pretty key players in here in the horror space itself. And the biggest one that we had to say, we just adore him and everything. But especially as Henry Waters was Justin Long. Was that somebody that you guys had in mind when creating the character, or was that just you sent the script out to a few names and he was the one that just absolutely nailed it?
Well, he was definitely on the list like early on, but we, like he was kind of available because he was doing like Goosebumps, and but like didn't seem to have anyone really specifically in mind, because we went around the block a bunch to trying to figure out exactly what would be the best person we could figure out what the timing we needed and stuff.
Mhm.
But was there,
Yeah.
did you have anybody in mind when you were writing it? Like, I know we didn't really.
Not really, in the initially there was the thing with Henry is there was like so many different incarnations. In fact, the first draft of the script, he was in his 50s, and Buck was his son, not his little brother, and he had like a trophy wife type of situation going on. And then the character kept changing because we were just finding casting was really hard because it's a very specific role, but it's not the lead. You know what I mean? So you get people to read, but then they'd realize the role was a little smaller than they had hoped and that kind of stuff. So we kind of, like as Tyler said, we went around the block. I mean, at one point the character was female in her 50s, and the character was female in her 30s, and then the character was male in his 40s. It like just kept changing until we kind of realized, like, once we cast Sean Deppner as Buck, he plays 16 on Riverdale, and I think that's so funny because he's 30 years old, and I think he looks. And we cast Sean as Buck when the character was still a 21-year-old kind of play toy to a female killer, and we all kind of were like, Sean's 30, he looks 30, and that's for me when it kind of sparked that. I think Henry should be around my age. I'm 43. He should be a little bit younger, a little bit more eager in a lot of ways, more new school money as opposed to old school money. And then that's kind of when I forget who it was, but someone's like, I wonder if we could get Justin Long for this.
Yeah, because by that point, like our dates had changed, and so we could really recheck availabilities. And he happened to already be in Vancouver, which is where we were shooting, kind of coming off of Goosebumps, and we were able to figure it out. But like we kind of dug into the idea of like he had kind of something to prove, like he's like a younger, he's like the son of like somebody who's more successful than him, and Justin just came in with just a ton of great ideas and like a very specific look, like and that gave it a lot of dimension, and so for me it just became about like trying to shape that, and like he's just a fire hose of kind of chaotic ideas, and you have to kind of figure out like what is going to work within the confines of the story, and once we kind of nailed down kind of who this guy was, like it became pretty apparent that like he really has a good beat on sort of this outlandish kind of villain, and for me, like I was always intending it to be a bit of like a you're sort of watching 30 minutes of a Hallmark movie, and then the villain like just starts killing people, and then and that's kind of a fun take on it, and Justin really took that to the next level.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think you guys capture that tone, especially within the first 10 to 15 minutes of the movie, because we had highlighted that it just seems like you hit that Christmas tone really well, and I think that it really does feel very small town, and that's something that I feel like kind of goes unnoticed with a lot of the Christmas horrors or even just slasher films in general that are trying to take place in a small town. So I got to know, like, what was it like, trying to capture that on film? Was that something where it was like you guys went to a physical location and actually shot in like a city, a town, or was this more just like sets and, piecing things together? Or was it kind of a mishmash?
No, we don't have a single set in the whole movie. It's all like dressing and real locations. But we shot in and around Vancouver, but kind of a little bit, kind of deeper into like winter. We were, it's kind of getting to be spring. And so we had to sort of chase a little bit of snow and kind of, sort of work on but it was still kind of cold enough that you could see people's breath. Like I would say a lot of like the look of the film really comes from Tiana Gordon, our production designer, and like Nick Piotnik, our cinematographer, and kind of working with them to kind of figure out this kind of balance between like warm and cool that we were going for, with like the kind of traditional Christmas colors of the kind of regular town, and then this sort of nightmare version of it where you're sort of in this very cool feeling kind of high contrast world that feels a little scuzzy. And they really got different ways to kind of do that, and kind of put us in a position where we could kind of put a lot of details in there that get that across.
Awesome. And so one thing that I gotta say was a little bit of a point of contention for me kind of going into the film was just the overall look of the angel killer. And so I want to know, Michael, was that design, was that specifically in mind in the script, or was that something that you kind of left more open to interpretation and then let kind of the production team go crazy with? Or was that something you guys had to toy with? Like, I really want to know how you guys came to this idea of like the blank face and the angel aesthetic.
Yeah, I mean, I refer to the killer in the script as the angel. I described him as like an angelic looking killer and all white, the white mask, white gloves, that kind of thing. And then I described the dagger as a golden silver, like angelic, dagger. I knew going in I didn't want a Santa. I mean, I think everyone expects a Santa killer in slashers now, so I knew I wanted to change that convention, and started thinking about just like what are other things tied to the holiday. And an angel made a lot of sense to me because it's a tree topper. It's also a religious thing, and I thought it would be fun to make a religious figure of our fucking murderer. Just think it's really fun to, quite frankly, piss people off. And then Tyler and Tiana Gordon, our production designer, and Matea, our costume designer, kind of then sat down, took my stupid words, quite frankly, and made it into what it is. And they did a lot of, I'll let Tyler speak to it more, but they did do a lot of camera tests and that kind of stuff. But my favorite thing that I just learned doing this press with Tyler is how Tiana, in like one of the first meetings, like actually sat down was in that meeting drawing the dagger, and like that's eventually what it ended up being. And I didn't know this, and I loved finding out that that's when like she decided to add angel wings to the dagger, because I didn't describe that, and she thought such a great touch because we couldn't put wings on the killer. It would just be too impractical. But Tyler can speak more to the rest.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the things that became really apparent really quickly is once we started thinking about the stunt scenes, like if he was wearing angel wings, he'd be waves and falling off of stuff, it'd be sort of like that cape scene in The Apprentice or something, and so we thought it was, kind of a funny bit, but not really right for the tone of this. And we knew he needed to be kind of lean and fast because of the type of action that we were doing. But we looked at these kind of, one of the things that Michael and I talked about was like vintage tree toppers, like those kind of like very porcelain faced kind of like older tree toppers. And they have this sort of like almost like a very shiny, opaque kind of vibe to them. And so we started figuring like, well, can we do a surface like that that's just like, has a reflection to it, like a frosted light bulb? And
that right. Forgot about that detail. That's my favorite detail.
Yeah, it's so like having him have no eyes, like where you're not quite sure where to look, but when you stare into him, he sort of reflects the Christmas lights around. And once we kind of figured that out, that was not a particularly, you can do it, but it means that the stunt performer can't see jack shit. We had to sort of, rehearse blind and then have these different stages of the mask that you could see more and less out of. Anyway, I think it was worth it. Cody, who was our stuntman, may disagree, but definitely, like it became one of the things that people kind of point out, and he gives him kind of an eerie quality to it, which is really what we were after. But I think during the process of kind of shooting these things, he kind of brought on a little bit of like a graceful kind of movement to it, which was weirdly like in the script. Like Cody like approached me and was like, "What do you think if he kind of moves kind of smooth?" And and I was like, "Oh yeah." And then I like literally flipped through the script and like Michael like calls that out kind of like in the script. So that's kind of was a good sign of people were kind of getting on the same page.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like I said, it was one thing where I saw that initially and I was just like, I don't know, it feels very MTV Scream, like in the sense of how that mask was very like just plain, it felt like. But again, that's going off of a very established franchise. But then watching it in the film, it completely flipped me around where I'm just like, oh, this is absolutely amazing. Like I love the way that the character moves, the way you guys described the flowing of it is absolutely one of the elements I was trying to put forth in my video review. Is just like when you see this costume and you see the presence, and then also just understanding the context of everything, I think it really brings the character together. And kind of going into something, I'll put a little bit of like a spoiler warning here. I gotta know, and you don't have to say too much, obviously we're very early into it, but is there a chance that we could see a return back to Angel Falls at some point for you guys?
I mean, I'm game. I have an idea. We talked about it a little bit here and there, but yeah, I would totally go back, but I would need Tyler to have 40 days instead of 18 to shoot the movie.
Wow,
18.
Yeah, more than double would be great.
Then at least 35 would be great. We would need more time and money to go back. And I don't say that as like I need money to make a movie. If I'm gonna do a sequel to something and my idea is much bigger than this movie, I want it to be done right. But I would happily return to Angel Falls, especially with this cast. Mm-hmm. Love this cast. I would love to give, we had Catherine Isabel on the movie and she's so great. And we found through the some of the smaller festival circuit we did, like the shorter festival circuit we did, and just even reading reviews today, people love her as much as we did. And it's so satisfying, and it just makes me go, oh, I wish I gave her more. Like, and I think she's in a significant part of the movie, but I wish she was in every scene. So like it would be a great opportunity to just take the things, to take some of my wish list that we had to either cut or like just move around for cost, and like get to play with some leftovers, and then also bring some new energy to the movie in a way that I don't want to spoil.
Mm.
But yeah, and it also gives you an opportunity. It's a fantastical world. Maybe we bring back some people who are dead, so like it would be a really fun challenge. So yes is my short answer.
There you go. And for you, Tyler, is there any like real interest or any kind of thing that's piquing your mind of like, I wish I could go back and add a little something to it, or if I could go back, I would want to do this some more?
Yeah, to be honest, I wanted to kill Santa Claus. Never really got the opportunity. I had this idea of maybe like as they're running, the angels chasing Winnie kind of through town, that he just like stops and fucking kills like a Santa Claus that's like asleep on a bench or something. But we never really. It was one of those things where it's just like, I can't add another kill to this. Like like they're gonna the more blood gags, they're gonna murder me. But I'm gonna be the blood gag. But yeah, I would, love to go back for It's a Wonderful Knives or Twas a Knife Before Christmas.
Those are great titles. I like that. I could see you guys have been thinking about it, but no, I really enjoyed the film, guys. I thought that this was honestly one of the few recent holiday horrors that I can say really has struck a chord with at least myself and my co-host. I will definitely be revisiting it every year, because again, I think slashers are kind of underrated in the sense of like we get a lot of them, just like we get with found footage movies and things. I think there's a good dichotomy there because it's just hard to make one that stands out, and I think that that's what you guys have achieved here. And my final like kind of wrap up question for both of you: I know you guys have worked a lot in the vein of slasher, obviously with a little bit of a twist to each. Is there any other like side of horror, whether it's cosmic horror, whether it's going towards something more traditional like a Wolfman or Dracula, any other side of horror that either of you want to explore?
Yeah, I mean, I really love slasher movies. I'll make as many of them as this industry allows me to, quite frankly. But I wrote a really exciting script that sold last year that's more adult, which I'm really excited for people to see. But I want to find a really fun and unique home invasion movie. I love home invasion movies, but I also think it's a hard genre to do because it's like, how many different ways can you do a home invasion movie at the end of the day? So I want to find that like Ready or Not twist on it, or the Your Next twist on it to do it. And it's a big wish of mine to find my version of a home invasion movie. I just don't know what that is yet. But yeah, that's one I would love to play in.
Awesome. And for you, Tyler?
I also love slasher movies. I will do more of them. But I really want to do an Invisible Person movie. I don't think there's quite enough of them, and I think because they're really
God, I love that.
Yeah, they're damn near impossible to do, and there's like maybe 3 good ones, over, like they don't get made much because they're weird and hard, and it's also kind of a lot of negative space work and things you have to kind of think through visually. But I have an idea for one that I really, really like.
Oh, cool.
I'd like to do it sometime, yeah.
I get really excited when I find out something new about Tyler.
That's great. I love that. And now I have to know, right before I wrap this up, is Hollow Man on that list for you of good ones?
Ooh, good
Please
question.
tell me it is.
Yeah, it's on there. It's near the bottom, but it's on there.
Oh my god,
I love Hollow Man. Hollow Man is like the best tone. I love the tone of the movie.
I mean, it's not a long list. I'm gonna say it's 3 of 3, but like my personal favorite is Memoirs of Invisible Man, which is like nobody like is it's my second favorite John Carpenter movie, and nobody talks about it. Like John Carpenter doesn't talk about that movie, but it's like a studio movie that he did. I mean, I'm gonna get off a whole rant here, but the point is, Memoirs of Invisible Man, check it out. Do yourself a favor.
I'll have to check that out. It's like the one John Carpenter movie I've yet to watch.
Yeah, it's that and Starman for me that I've only seen once each, but I definitely want to get back to them. But thank you guys so much. That's going to bring me to the end of my time here.